All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram. All right, we're going to continue with the examination of our witness. Go ahead, madam.
Investigator Gaither, when I left, I was asking you about the videos that you spoke of that you personally observed references to particular gangs and criminal activities or acts of violence. Were those references that you observed, were they always direct and obvious, overt acts of violence that were being talked about?
Your Honor, I don't have the.
I sustain the objection, sir.
While you were with the Atlanta Police Department, were your involvement with gangs limited to acts by individuals, or did you ever see conflict between two rival gangs?
Both.
Now, when we were talking about ABG and when you first learned of its existence, did ABG exist before you knew of YSL?
Yes.
And during the time that ABG existed, did they display symbols for sex, money, murder?
Yes, they did. I was one of their signals or signs that they used.
And have you, during your time as a law enforcement officer with the Atlanta Police Department, ever observed members of what later became YSL interacting with, in an amicable way, members of ABG?
Yes.
Would you describe when that time was that you observed that?
I would say it was 2011, 12, maybe a little earlier than that.
What sorts of circumstances did you see later YSL members interacting with ABG members?
We would see them on music videos. There were several artists within Atlanta Blood Gang, ABG, that would make music videos as well as like behind the scene blogs that captured, you know, everything that was going on during the making of the video. So we would see a lot of, you know, everybody from all neighborhoods would come and basically be in the music videos and the blog.
Who are some of the people that you identified in those blog videos that were either associated with YSL or Ural or ABG?
I can see the actual video.
What's the objection, sir?
Application was.
Overruled.
Go ahead, you may see.
Oh, it was a lot. You would see Mr. Williams, Jeffrey Williams in the video, Mr. Trontavious Stevens, Donovan Thomas, Justin Ushery, who had the rap name Bloody J. Seen Kenneth Copeland in some videos. Can't remember Micah's last name, but
Do you know Micah Anderson?
yes, I'm sorry, yes, Micah Anderson. He was also a well-known local rapper. Micah Anderson, Archuleta Bennett.
Archillian Bennett?
Archillian Bennett, yes.
Okay. What group was she affiliated with?
Atlanta Blood Gang.
Go ahead.
Walter Murphy. I mean, it would literally be hundreds of guys in these videos. I mean,
Did the
those are the,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, those are just the ones I can think of, just right off the top of my head.
You mentioned Kenneth Copeland. Did you know Kenneth Copeland to be involved in any other group besides YSL?
Yes.
What one?
30 Deep.
And what about Shannon Stillwell? Was he involved in any other group besides YSL?
30 Deep as well.
And was Shannon Stillwell and Kenneth Copeland involved with 30 Deep at the same time?
Yes.
did the relationship as you observed it personally between members of the Atlanta Blood Gang and members of what later became YSL, did it remain amicable?
After some time, no.
At what point did you see the relationship between the two groups change at all?
I first noticed late 2014. I saw members of ABG, If Gang go one way, and then the guys from YSL go their separate, YSL Rock Crew go their separate ways. So as far as when they fell out, I don't know. When I first noticed it, it was late 2014.
When you say go their separate ways, please explain what you're talking about.
The two groups, you would no longer see the two groups hanging with each other. You saw one, the ABG side, If Gang, they were a set of rappers, and then the other side were a set of rappers as well. But you wouldn't see them congregate in videos, hanging out at the nightclubs together. You just didn't see it anymore.
So after you saw us going their separate ways between the two groups, at that time was YSL been established as YSL or Young Fly and Life? Had they begun calling themselves that?
YSL?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than a parting of ways, did you see any other interactions or relationship signs between the group ABG or If Gang and YSL?
Relationships?
Any
I'm sorry.
other signs of what the status of their relationship was? That makes sense.
Yeah, it appeared to be some sort of conflict or beef.
When did you first see signs of a conflict or beef between those two groups?
The first time was obviously 2015 when a homicide occurred, but once the homicide occurred, we had to go backwards to kind of try to find a starting point, and that's when we found a bunch of police reports and incidents that occurred that we didn't know were related to.
The confrontation clause, sir. Gotcha.
Oh, sir.
Go ahead, please.
That we didn't know were actually related to the homicide. So an incident happened, but we basically essentially worked backwards to try to figure out the starting point.
That homicide that you're talking about, who was it that was murdered?
Donovan Thomas.
And was that on January 10th, 2015?
I sustain the question. We can rephrase it.
What day was that?
January 10th, 2015.
And what was it that caused you all to start looking backwards? What happened that got the gang unit involved?
Objection as to the instrument and relevant, sir.
Overruled on both bases.
Let's start with what got the gang unit involved?
We were immediately notified of the homicide of Donovan Thomas the night that it happened, just based on his involvement with Inglewood family Bloods.
What was Donovan Thomas's involvement with Inglewood family Bloods, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, he was a ranking member of Inglewood family Bloods here in Atlanta.
After he was killed, who was it that reached out to him within the Atlanta Police Department? Was it the lead investigator or something else?
Homicide unit. I'm sorry.
Overruled, sir.
Go ahead.
The homicide unit reached out the night that it occurred.
And were you one of the ones that they reached out to, or was it just the gang unit in general?
I was one of the ones that they, I believe it was Investigator Thorpe, reached out to.
Were there any other members of the gang unit that homicide reached out to?
They knew Dennis and I were, Investigator Dennis and I were partners, and we worked really close together. So Investigator Dennis was also notified.
You said that Donovan Thomas was a ranking member of the Inglewood family Blood?
To my knowledge.
What does it mean to?
Hold on. I sustain the question. I sustain the question as to form.
What does it mean to be a ranking member of a gang?
That you have some level of authority within the gang.
And the term big homie as you understood it to me, did that have significance within gang culture?
Big homie will be referred to as someone that's well respected within the gang.
What did you do once you got word from homicide that Donovan Thomas had been murdered?
To a reasonable amount of certainty, I believe it happened on a Sunday and I was off. I came into work. There was a witness there, I guess telling his side of the story to homicide, and he had requested for us, myself and investigator Dennis to come in.
And by he, are you talking about the lead detective or the witness?
The witness.
Okay. Do you recall where it was that Donovan Thomas had been murdered? In other words, what area of the city?
Yes, it was on McDaniel Street, just south of Northside Drive.
And what part of the city would you classify that as? Mechanicsville, Summerhill?
I believe it's more or less on the lines of Castleberry Hills, but it's just on the opposite side of I-20, which separates Castleberry from Mechanicsville.
And the person who came forward on the night that Donovan Thomas was killed, without saying what they said, who was that person?
Kenneth Copeland.
Did you and Dennis speak with Kenneth Copeland that night?
Yes.
Did you all speak with him later on, again, about similar matters?
Your Honor,
Without talking about what he said?
based on that, we approached.
talking about the person that, came forth the night that Donovan Thomas was murdered.
Yes, ma'am.
Lieutenant Copeland. Was there anyone in particular that interviewed Lieutenant Copeland? And I don't want you to say what Lieutenant Copeland said.
Yes, ma'am.
Who?
Detective Thorpe, myself, and Investigator Dennis.
And were you Detective Thorpe and Investigator Dennis in a particular location at the time that you interviewed him?
Atlanta Police Headquarters.
And where in Atlanta Police Headquarters? In other words, were you in an interview room?
Yes.
or the library?
An interview room.
How many times did you all interview him that night?
Not certain. At the very least, 2.
And did that involve him getting up and leaving and coming back, or somebody leaving out the room and coming back? How did that work?
I can't recall at this moment.
Okay. Other than Mr. Copeland, that night, did you all interact with anyone else about the Donovan Thomas murder?
I personally didn't.
Did Donovan Thomas have any particular nickname?
Yes.
What was that nickname?
Nut or Big Nut.
Once you heard from Kenneth Copeland, what concerns did you have that you thought were worth looking further into as it related to the murder of Donovan Thomas?
As it related to the murder, he kind of gave us insight on.
Objection, Your Honor, that would be confrontation clause.
After he came down, Mr. Copeland, what did you all set out to do as it relates to the investigation of the Donovan Thomas murder? What did you all do specifically?
Specifically for the murder, Investigator Thorpe was the lead detective. Investigator Dennis and I began to try to find the backstory of incidents that occurred prior to the homicide of Mr. Thomas.
Was it only you and Dennis that were going back looking at incidents that occurred before Donovan Thomas was killed?
No, there were other members within the gang unit. That was the hot case that was going on. So there were other members within the gang unit.
And when you said that was a hot case that was going on, were all of the gang unit members working on that case during that time?
Yes, yes.
Were all of the gang unit investigators and officers working on that case at that time?
Not all of us. There was several of us working on the case.
You personally, what did you do to start looking into the Donovan Thomas murder? What was one of the first acts that you did?
After receiving some information, I began to look for calls for service, which are 911 calls placed, believe starting from October 2014 up until the date of Mr. Thomas being killed, which was January.
Was there a particular area that you were looking for 911 calls related to?
Yes, areas that were told by us, by Mr. Copeland, as well as known shooting locations from previous police reports or crime analysis reports.
And how far back did the shootings that you were looking for go as it related to January 10th, 2015? How far back? Did the shooting incident that you were looking at start in October of 2014?
Yes.
Did you look for any shootings before October 2014?
That was my starting point, was October.
What particular locations did you look for shootings at? Like address-wise or business-wise?
There were locations that Mr. Copeland gave us that we looked at.
Apart from anything Mr. Copeland said, after speaking to Mr. Copeland, incidents related to what particular locations and let me be clear. Are you familiar with Club Crucial?
I am.
Where is Club Crucial located?
2500 block of Donnelly Hollowell Parkway or Bankhead Highway.
What kind of business is Club Crucial back in January 15, 2015?
It was a nightclub.
What were its hours of operation?
I'm not certain, but it was open at least until 2:30 a.m.
Was it open every day of the week?
They should not serve.
She didn't say that she was. Was it open every day of the week?
To the best of my knowledge, it was.
Did any special events like fights or things like that happen at Club Crucial?
Yes.
And what type of special events occurred at Club Crucial?
Monday nights were fight night, which was two ladies would get in the ring and box.
Did that event draw patrons from groups that you were already familiar with? Specifically, did that event draw patrons that were members of YSL?
It did.
Did that event draw patrons that were members of IFAN?
It did.
And how far back were those fight nights rather happening in October of 2014?
They were.
To your knowledge, did IFAN members and YSL members appear and go to those clubs at the same time, those fights at the same time?
Objection has been answered. And basis of knowledge of the compensation clause.
Were there ever times where YSL members and IFAN members were in there at the same time?
Objection has been answered.
When were IFAN members and YSL members there at the same time?
The popular night was Monday nights.
Was there any particular name for that night?
Fight night.
And what was it that you really looked into that occurred in October 2014 that you felt had some significance as it related to the Donovan Thomas murder?
Shots fired calls, aggravated assault, shooting calls, any type of damage to property calls caused by gunfire.
Did you find any from October 2014?
Yeah.
Compensation clause.
There were no statements made, Your Honor. We're asking if she found any calls made from that date. That's it.
Oh.
Go ahead.
With a reasonable amount of certainty, we did.
You mentioned damage to property calls. What type of damage to property?
Damage caused by gunfire, damage to whether it was a vehicle or a house.
Were these instances where people were actually shot? Those first ones that you were looking into?
Compensation clause, sir.
Your Honor, we're not asking.
Sir.
You may answer.
No, if a person was actually shot, it would be classified as a aggravated assault if they live, but this was just if no persons were injured, it was just the damage to whatever property.
Did those damage to property calls that you began looking into after the Donovan Thomas murder have any connection with the damage to property calls that we talked about yesterday that you began looking closer at once you gained a better understanding of certain gang activity?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The damage to property calls that we found when you started looking into the Donovan Thomas murder, had they been investigated?
No, they hadn't.
And was there more than one damage to property call? In other words, was there only one shooting at a house or were there multiple shootings?
No, ma'am, there were at the very least 10.
And what time frame had these shootings been reported?
From October up until January the 10th.
October 14th to January 10th, 2015?
October 2014 up until that time frame of January the 10th.
cases when you started looking for them within APD? How were
So
they?
where
how
were
had
they?
been handled? Mhm.
They hadn't been, they just were reports generated that were in central records.
Had an investigator been assigned to them?
No,
Had they been generated from 911 calls?
correct.
Had ammunition been collected at these sites?
There was. Some of them, yes.
And was the ammunition consisting of shell casings or anything like that?
Yes, there was.
Were these places that have been damaged, were they homes of people?
Yes, residences, single-family homes, apartment complexes. Officers would respond to the calls, collect shell casings, and later on is when we found the nexus between a lot of the shootings because the shell casings were matching different scenes.
These are all incidents that you're talking about that occurred prior to January 2015, January 10th, 2015. Were there any property damage calls that were investigated related to the Donovan Thomas murder that occurred after January 10th, 2015?
Yes,
Do you know how many?
that was a lot. Roughly the very next day after Mr. Thomas's murder, we began to get drive-by shootings left and right. I mean, they were coming in at a very high speed.
Okay. And did the drive-by shootings involve anyone associated with either YSL or IF gang?
That would be confrontation clause.
Your Honor, I'm not asking what you want to say.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Overruled, sir.
Yeah.
As you investigated these shootings,
Mhm.
were the persons involved associated with either IF gang or YSL?
The victims, or
Both, just in either capacity?
yeah, we would see residents of both sides, YSL and IF gang, their family members or friends or locations where they were known to frequent. We would see retaliatory shootings at both residents. We would also receive shooting calls of the wrong residents, which was directly next door to a location that we knew to be involved with a YSL or YFN, or IF gang member. So there was not only just those people, but there were also people that had nothing to do with regular citizens whose property was being damaged.
During the time that you all were looking into the Donovan Thomas murder, were you all looking at any social media or anything like that to get more intelligence about the two groups you were investigating?
Yeah, we were.
What types of social media sites were you looking into during that time?
Mainly Instagram. There was some Twitter. I'm not super familiar with Twitter, but my main tool was Instagram.
And without getting into the specifics of what any one particular post said, did you find any information that you were able to then use in your investigation on these social media sites?
In relation to the actual murder, or all of the events occurring around the murder?
In relation to the conflict between IF gang and YSL?
Yes, we had posts from both sides that, just
Generally speaking.
Overruled, sir.
I didn't hear your objection.
I'm sorry, that's the evidence rule. And here's it.
Overruled.
You can tell the jury.
there were posts from both YSL and also IF gang disrespecting each other online.
Were there members of IF gang who were also involved in the music business?
Yes.
Who were some of those members?
YFN Lucci, his real name is Ray Sean Bennett. He was probably the most popular rapper within If Gang. Also Micah Andrews, Anderson, I'm sorry.
Okay.
He was a popular rapper within that group. Rich Homie Quan, I'm not certain of his real name, but that was his rap name. Justin Ushery, who was known as Bloody J. He was also a local rapper within If Gang. I think that's all I can think of at this moment.
YSL.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what his mother's name is?
I know her as Miss Pretty. I can't recall her real name.
Does the name Frida Reed?
Yes, Frida Reed.
Okay. Do you know whether or not any of the property damage incidents that you looked into following the death of Donovan Thomas involved the home of Miss Frida Reed?
Computation question.
Your Honor, I'm not asking for him what anyone said. I'm asking whether she investigated. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you know whether or not any of the property damage calls that you investigated following the murder of Donovan Thomas involved the home of Frida?
Yes, her home was targeted several times.
By targeted, how do you know?
There were several shooting incidents that occurred at her home.
Do you know whether any property damage occurred to property belonging to Rich Homie Quan, either preceding or following the death of Donovan Thomas in the time frame from October through January of 2015?
I'm not certain.
Was there any type of concerted investigation started by the Atlanta Police Department as a result of the murder of Donovan Thomas?
That is asked and answered.
Did the Atlanta Police Department work with any other agencies to begin investigating the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes, we did.
What agencies did you all work with?
U.S. Marshals Service. We work with the ATF, which is Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau. We have an analyst from the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations.
What type of analysts?
Crime analyst.
What is a crime analyst?
Analyze crime trends. She helped us with a lot of charts and basically putting together information which we could read in a cohesive manner.
Okay.
I believe there was an FBI agent as well that assisted us.
Is that something like what was usual since you have been at APD, that you work with that many different agencies?
Objection relevant.
No, that wasn't common.
What type of assistance did ATF, U.S. Marshals, GBI, and the FBI give in the investigation of the murder and ensuing events surrounding the murder of Donovan?
Objection, Your Honor, is a compound question. Also relevance.
Oh, Mr. State Seals, objection, I'll sustain this.
What kind of assistance did you get from ATF in investigating the murder of Donovan Thomas and the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes, the ATF definitely assisted us with analyzing shell casings, which were placed into NIBIN. So when a shooting occurs and we recover any type of ballistics evidence, the ATF kind of spearheaded our progression with getting the results back in a faster manner. So that was their main focus, was the the ballistics evidence and also if a firearm was recovered, getting analyzed reports on those.
Do you know how many shootings that you investigated following the murder of Donovan Thomas that you felt were related?
Objection to her feeling, speculation.
That you believe based on your investigations? Based on your investigation into the murder of Donovan Thomas and into incidents that occurred after, how many shootings did you determine flowed from or happened as a result of the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Objection, Your Honor, foundation.
You have also speculation.
What did you do to investigate the shootings that occurred after Donovan Thomas was murdered on January 10, 2015? What types of things did you do? Tell us here.
Well, during the investigations, we obviously attempted to find surveillance video. The ATF assisted with NIBIN reports to try to link certain scenes with each other. We did numerous cell phone dumps, search warrants of residences, vehicles. We made a lot of arrests, interviewed a lot of witnesses and victims. I think that's about it. I'm social media search warrants for direct messages and also posts.
During that time that you were investigating the murder of Donovan Thomas, did you investigate personal fights between members of YSL and members of it gang?
Personal fights?
Individual conflict.
To some degree.
And were there individual conflicts that you learned of during your investigation into the murder of Donovan Thomas? Between members?
Learned of the hearsay and the competition.
That you investigated.
Can you say the first part again, please?
Were there individual conflicts between a member of YSL and a member of his gang that you investigated during your investigation into the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes.
Who were the individual members that you
Investigated
conflict between?
One in particular was between Mr. Kenneth Copeland, aka Woody, Lil Woody, and the other one was with Kelvin Watts, known as Shell Kel. Kelvin Watts was a member of If Gang and Woody YSL.
When did that conflict occur?
As far as I know, 2014, late 2014, that was kind of the start of all of this, to my knowledge. So late 2014.
Did any other members of YSL get involved in that conflict that occurred with Kenneth Cole?
You're saying. It's speculation.
Did persons, Your Honor, may I approach because I don't want to open up. May I approach? Before I ask the next question.
Okay.
the YSL member involved, a YSL member involved, that conflict actually occurred.
Complication clause in hearsay, sir.
I'm overrule the objection.
Yes.
And did that conflict involve more than one member of YSL?
Yes.
In objection, Your Honor.
Same ruling, overruled.
And did it involve more than one member of IFGAN?
Yes.
Objection.
Same ruling, overruled.
Who was the other member of IFGAN involved?
Also, the hearsay competition.
Overruled, sir.
We speaking of Kelvin Watts?
Yes, other than Kelvin Watts. Was Justin Usher involved?
Objection, leave.
I stand as to form.
Who else was involved that you know of?
The initial beef, I believe his name is Victor Meadows, Rayshawn Bennett. Donovan Thomas's other half brother, Thomas, his name.
What is his nickname?
I can't think at this moment, but Marquavius
Is it Curtis?
Curtis, yes.
Is he also called Greedy?
Greedy,
Hear the
yes.
question.
Is he also called Greedy?
Yes, Marquavius Curtis, aka Greedy.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So I can think of at this moment.
Okay. How long did this investigation into the conflict between Young Limelight and IFGAN last?
And I retired in 2020 and it was still going on.
What did you say the last part?
I retired in 2020 and the conflict was still occurring at that time.
What were you able to see personally that caused you to say that the conflict was still going on?
Shootings and incident.
That's not personal.
I'll sustain as to form. Rephrase, please.
What were your personal observations that allowed you to believe that there was more to investigate as to the conflict between the gang and YSL?
In 2020, up until 2020,
Yes.
there were still investigations involving different members from both sides shooting at each other. There were fights within the jail.
Not personal observations. I object. Hearsay competition.
I'm overrule the objection. I think that's what she's testifying to now, so I'm overruling the objection.
That's my answer.
And I'm going to show you, was there anything placed on social media that would have referenced that conflict that you saw?
I do remember seeing an album cover. There was an album cover of Mr. Williams with reference to Bird Gang with a snake going through the eyes and the head of the bird, which we knew represented
Objection to what they knew.
what I knew.
Speculation.
I sustain the objections to form. You can rephrase.
Okay.
The information that you knew about the album cover that you were referencing,
Objection to
Howard-
the form of the question.
Overrule, sir.
what information informed you about the album cover that you were looking at when you say the information I knew?
Based upon previous police reports and interviews of, the police, we knew of the conflict going on between the two groups. The album cover was released to the general public. It just looked like, a snake with a bird going through, but there was significance to us and what we knew regarding the two groups, that it was a form of disrespect to If Gang, ABG, Bird Gang.
And I'm going to show you what has been marked and already admitted as defendant's exhibit 70. If you'll look on your screen to your left or over your right shoulder, are you familiar with, have you seen the exhibit that has been admitted as defendant Williams exhibit 7?
Yes, I've seen it before.
And how similar or dissimilar is that exhibit to what you were just describing?
Looks like the same image.
You gotta speak into that microphone.
Appears to be the same image.
Thank you. And what was it, help the jury or help us to understand, when you say that there was a snake going through a bird, is that what you said?
The narrative.
What did you say?
I stand the objection.
What did you say that this image was?
Objection, asked and answered.
I stand the objection.
Objection cumulative to prior testimony.
Oh,
Are you able to take the pointer stick above the eagle behind you and just trace the outline of what you said is a snake?
This green and black item here.
Okay.
From here going up, out to the head of the snake here.
And is the snake alive or dead?
Objection,
basis.
speculation.
Overruled.
Looks to be alive and well.
What about the bird? Would you trace the image of the bird?
In the rear of it to here, round to the beak. And this would be the eye area.
Now, is the bird alive or dead?
Objection,
Basis.
best evidence.
Overruled.
It appears to be decayed, dead.
Okay, thank you. Now, the snake that we just saw, was there any significance to its color in your investigation into that conflict that you described?
YSL members and associates identified with the color green, which represented slime.
You talked about Rich Homie Quan. Did he do music as well?
Yes.
And did you know him at some point to do music with the defendant Jeffrey Williams?
Yes.
Was that prior to or before October 2014?
I believe it was roughly around the same time. Definitely 2014. Not sure exact date.
Was it, so is that before January 10th, 2015?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever notice a parting of ways between those two?
Objection, hearsay. Confrontation clause, speculation.
Did you?
Beyond the scope.
I can
of the witness's
rephrase.
knowledge.
Overruled as to all your bases of objection, Mr. Steele.
Did you ever notice a parting of ways between Rich Homie Quan
Foundation.
and defendant
Here's
Jeffrey
the-
Williams?
Based on the question, overruled.
Yes.
At what time?
Maybe mid 2015. Spring, summer.
What did you see personally that reflected that parting of ways?
I'm gonna ask for a foundation, otherwise it's hearsay.
I stand the question as to form. You can rephrase.
Did you personally observe signs of that parting of ways?
Object.
Overruled the objection.
I personally observe any signs of the breakup.
The parting ways.
Um,
Did you ever see them?
Objection to witness not be allowed to answer the question.
Let her finish answering the question, Mr. Lynn.
Sure. If you need any clarity.
Objection to the question.
Overruled.
Myself and my unit, we were obviously monitoring both sides, the parties, including media outlets that made it known of.
That would be hearsay. I would object to media outlets.
And Your
I'll
Honor,
sustain the objection.
we're talking about what?
Objection to speaking.
Yeah.
She's responding to me, Mr. Steele.
Objection to speaking. Objection.
She's responding to me. Overruled. Sit down, please.
The witness is testifying about what she relied on.
What you elicited is speculation. So I'll sustain that, but you can rephrase it.
Did you ever see the two perform again after that time together?
Never saw. Never found it.
Your Honor,
Overruled, sir.
did you ever see defendant Jeffrey Williams perform with Rich Homie Quan after that time?
No, I didn't.
When you spoke about seeing things in social media, were the social media posts that you saw always obvious messages to someone else? Or
I sustain the question.
was it always apparent, the meaning behind what you were reading?
Objection.
I sustain the question.
I'll rephrase. Have you heard references to have you heard references in YSL songs released by members of YSL, to persons who were a member of IFGAN after the death of Donovan Thomas?
That would be hearsay. Is too vague.
Your Honor, if she herself has heard it and can speak
Well,
from her.
I'll sustain the objection. You probably need to lay a little more foundation right now.
Did you begin to monitor, as you began to monitor social media, what did you see that, if anything at all, that referred to or related to conflict between YSL and IFGAN?
Call for hearsay.
Overruled, sir.
Yes, that is.
Overruled. Overruled, sir.
Immediately after the shooting of, the murder of Mr. Thomas, when another shooting would occur, we would see members from both gangs posting disrespectful messages towards each other, tagging each other in posts, just so the other person would know that they're speaking on them. I do recall a post of, just as an example, a member of YSL was driving on the highway and members of IFGAN shot at his vehicle, basically chased him down. The following day, members of IFGAN posted, just had a shootout on the highway.
She's speaking about.
I'll overrule the objection, sir.
The member of IFGAN made a post of five of those guys. They were standing there pointing a firearm at the camera, and the caption was just had a big shootout on the highway. What was his name? Lil Spaz hanging out the window, letting it ride sideways, which means he was hanging out of the window, shooting a firearm.
Overruled, sir.
And that's exactly what the victim / member of YSL stated happened. The person was hanging out of the window, shooting an assault rifle at him.
And who is Lil Spaz? What was that person's real name?
Oh, jeez, Adrian. Dalavante Fleetwood.
I sustain objections to form.
I have to finish the question. May I? Your Honor?
Rephrase it, just what you're,
Do you know whether If Gang referred to themselves as If Gang later on, past 2015? Or did the Atlanta Police Department recognize any other names that If Gang members began to call themselves?
To my knowledge, we knew them as Inglewood Family Bloods. Some members refer to themselves as Haiti Gang.
Was there ever a time where you became aware of anyone calling themselves YFN as a group?
Yes,
And when was that?
roughly 2016, I can recall.
And what, were the members of YFN, first of all, was YFN a group that the gang unit classified as a gang?
Objection to what the gang unit classifies.
Based
I
on,
sustain that questions to form.
based on your experience and your personal observations, was YFN a gang?
That's beyond jurisdiction. That's not.
Mr. Steele, overruled.
You may answer.
Was YFN a gang?
Yes.
Yes.
Did it have a head as far as you could see?
A leader?
Yes.
One of the most notable persons was the rapper YFN Lucci.
And have you investigated gang conflicts that spanned the size and length of time that the conflict between YSL and If Gang spanned since that time?
Relevant.
Overruled, sir. Overruled.
As I previously stated, I mean, to my knowledge, it would.
I sustain the question.
Yeah, she was speaking, I had not asked another question.
No, go ahead. Rephrase the question, that's fine.
Okay, you go ahead.
The beef hadn't stopped when I left the department in 2020, so I personally hadn't seen anything like it. It had not stopped. Yes, ma'am.
During 2015, while you were looking into did you call it, did you think of it as a war, a gang war?
Objection, Your Honor.
I sustain the question.
During 2015, as you were looking into the back and forths between YSL and If Gang, did you investigate crimes that were committed by YSL members against people besides If Gang members?
There was a significant spree of retaliatory shootings between the two groups.
Were you at all involved with a shooting involving a young man by the name of Dexter Montgomery?
Yes.
How did you become involved in that shooting? Hold on one second. Backing up, let me just ask this question. Did that shooting involve persons who you had already determined were members of YSL?
Yes.
The determination.
I stand as the form.
Did that shooting involve Walter Murphy?
Yes.
Was Walter Murphy YSL at the time?
Yes.
That shooting involved Kevin Treadwell.
Yes.
Kevin Treadwell YSL at the time.
Yes.
Did that shooting involve a person called Nard, whose actual name is Demise Mullen?
Yes.
And was Demise Mullen YSL at the time?
Yes.
Now, when you became involved in investigating that shooting, did you actually speak to people who came forward as victims?
Yes.
Do you recall who all you spoke to?
Spoke to D'Angelo White.
Did he speak to you willingly?
I stand the question.
Were you able to observe his demeanor?
Yes.
And were you able to understand the words that he said to you?
For the most part.
And based on your interactions with human beings, did he appear eager to speak to you?
Objection, Your Honor, that calls for speculation.
Oh, sir.
I'll just start. Was he willing to speak to you?
Yes, he spoke to us.
Did he want to be seen talking to you?
No.
Did you do anything to assuage his concerns about wanting to be seen talking to you?
Yes.
Did you ask him to look at any photographs?
Yes.
Did he willingly look at the photographs?
Yeah, he looked at him.
Did you force him to talk to you?
Did not.
Did you force him to look at the photographs?
No.
What did you do to ease his concerns about being seen talking to you?
We first told him that we would pick him up at whatever location of his choosing, just so, you know, no one would see him talking to the police. We were in an unmarked vehicle, so that was a major concern of his. He didn't want to be, you know, seen talking to the police. So driving to his location that he chose as discreetly as we could. Like I said, we were in jeans and a t-shirt and an unmarked car.
And did he direct you to the location where the shooting took place?
Yes.
Did he direct you to the location where he had been prior to the shooting?
Yes.
And who was in the car with you when he was doing all that directing?
Investigator Dennis and Investigator Edwards.
And you?
And myself.
Were you driving?
More than likely, yeah.
And where was D'Angelo White seated?
In the front seat.
Before you had spoken to D'Angelo White, had you obtained any kind of footage from the gas station where he had been before the shooting?
I did.
And do you remember how it was that you got that footage?
I requested it from the initial detective that was handling the case. I don't believe he gave it to me, so our Homeland Security unit got a copy of the video and left it on my desk.
All right. I'm going to show you. Did you get a chance to look at that surveillance?
I did.
Did that footage consist of cameras from more than one angle?
Yes.
Did you look at that footage or show any images of that footage to D'Angelo White?
I don't believe I did.
Did you show any images of that footage to Walter Murphy?
Yes.
When you first saw the footage, did you know who all was in the footage? Did you know the people that were in the video?
When I first saw the video, I recognized 3 individuals.
Which 3?
Walter Murphy, Kelvin Treadwell, and Rodney Allison.
And what, if anything, did you know about Rodney Allison, as it pertains to his relationship with Kelvin Treadwell and Walter Murphy?
I knew he was associated with them. I hadn't had any personal interactions with him, just, kind of hearing his name and different things. But I knew what he looked like.
And how did you know about Kelvin Treadwell at that time? How did you recognize him?
The same thing, no personal interactions with him, but just through many investigations just from Donovan Thomas's homicide until that point in April. His image was, around the guys that we were investigating. So we tried to make it a point to identify, if we were to see a picture with 6 guys, we would try to identify all six people in the photographs just for future references.
And did you, during your investigation, also have an opportunity to speak with Dexter Montgomery?
I stand the objection.
I don't think I asked about Dexter Montgomery at all.
Oh, I apologize.
All right,
I withdraw the objection.
overrule my objection, or the objection. Okay,
Did you
all right,
have
it's
an
withdrawn.
opportunity?
It's withdrawn, go ahead.
Did you have an opportunity during your investigation to speak with Dexter Montgomery?
I did,
Where did you speak with Dexter Montgomery?
at his residence.
And how long after the shooting did you speak with him?
It was several months, approximately 3.
Why were there several months between the shooting occurred and you spoke with the victim in that case?
From the time that I learned about the incident, I believe close to a month had passed. And also, Mr. Montgomery was recovering in the hospital from his injuries.
Did Mr. Montgomery speak with you willingly about what he remembered?
He did.
Who else, if anyone, did you speak with about this incident? Who were in the truck with Mr. Montgomery?
The driver, Cornelius, I don't recall his last name. Christian James, I believe he was a passenger in the vehicle. And another gentleman, Terrio or Terrion, something.
Moody?
If you say so, sound about right. I
Who
believe.
wrote Terrion, if that's what you remember?
Yeah, I believe I spoke with him as well. And Mr. White, I don't know if I said D'Angelo White. And excuse me, you said in the vehicle or in relation to the incident?
First I said in the vehicle.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Were those all the people that you spoke to?
I spoke to Miss Tina Clark.
Okay.
She was in a vehicle.
Your Honor,
Go ahead, go ahead.
actually, based on what the witness saw, I think she can testify.
I'll overrule the objection, sir. She's just gonna testify to what she saw, that's fine.
Tina Clark, she was in a vehicle with Mr. Treadwell, Mr. Allison, prior to the shooting.
And who else did you speak with?
Of course, Walter Murphy. That's all I could think of at this moment.
How many times did you speak with Walter Murphy?
For this incident?
Yes.
3.
Did Walter Murphy tell you Did Walter Murphy tell you the same account of events each time that you spoke with him?
Some details were different, but for the most part, his story was rather consistent.
When was the first time, did you speak with Walter Murphy, without giving you details, in July of 2015?
Yes.
And when you spoke with them, were you the only one in the room with them, or was there someone else in the room?
In July, it's myself and Investigator Edwards.
Was that the first time that you spoke with Walter Murphy about this incident?
Yes.
And at that time, did you have the surveillance footage from the gas station? That
Yeah.
incident sort of began at.
Yes.
And had you seen Walter Murphy by that time in the surveillance footage?
Yes.
What did you see as it relates to Walter Murphy? What did you see him doing in the video?
I observed him exit the passenger side of a white Dodge Nitro. He exited the vehicle with a large assault rifle in his hand. He first went to the front door where Mr. Treadwell, Mr. Allison, and another gentleman, I'm unaware of his name, were standing. He was basically telling them to come outside, like waving to him to come outside. Mr. Murphy then ran towards the vehicle the victim, Mr. Montgomery, was in, and he was pointing the weapon at him several times. He will walk back to the front of the store, then he'll run back to the victim's vehicle, pointing assault rifle at them.
How many times did you see anybody from the victim's vehicle point anything at Walter Murphy?
None.
Was Walter Murphy the only one pointing guns at the victim's vehicle?
He wasn't.
Who else did you see pointing guns at the victim's vehicle?
Demise McMillan, aka Nard.
What kind of gun did Demise McMullen point at the victim's vehicle?
He also had an assault rifle.
Is there any other term you've heard used to describe assault rifles?
AKs, a stick, chopper.
And the gun that Walter Murphy had, was it a handgun or a chopper or a stick?
It was a stick, assault rifle.
How many times did Demise McMullen point that assault rifle he had at the victim's vehicle?
Your Honor, I'm gonna get best evidence rule.
Overrule, sir.
Your Honor, the witness is not.
Overrule, sir. If it's the best evidence objection, it's overruled.
Okay, improper lay testimony.
Overrule, sir.
Your Honor, what I'll do is actually withdraw the last question, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you. We're not gonna play this, we're gonna just pull up the first screen of defense. Stillwell Exhibit 9.
All right.
Showing you on the screen, still shot of defense S Exhibit 9 at the time marker 01841. Are those images that you recognize from recognize State's Exhibit 100 Bravo Bravo.
I can't see. I'm sorry.
Do you recognize this surveillance footage?
I do.
How do you recognize it? If you could talk a little bit louder.
Surveillance footage from the shooting Dexter Montgomery at the Sitco station.
And is this the same surveillance footage that we saw in the defendant's exhibit that had the 4 squares on it?
Yes, that's the actual videos.
Okay. Your Honor, the state tender State's Exhibit 100 Bravo Bravo as evidence.
Any objection? Hearing none, it will be admitted and may be published as you see fit.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'm starting this video at timestamp 21:34:53.135. Just a minute. Detective Gaither, would you please tell the jury what it is that we're looking at timestamp 21:34:53?
The gas pumps at the Sitco station where the incident occurred.
And would you look behind you over your shoulder and take that pointer over your right shoulder? If you would stand up, what position you're on, might step down.
She may step down.
And would you point to the roadway just outside the parking lot of the gas station where you see cars?
Here, and also
What road is that you're pointing to?
this one.
Yes,
This is Brownsville Road, Southeast.
all right. And if I could get you just actually with your back against the wall. Yeah. As we're looking at this, I'm gonna ask you some questions as we go along, okay? Don't be mad. All right, I'm giving you play, Your Honor. I stopped the video at 21:35:41.911. For the record, would you please tell the jury what it is that you've observed as it relates to Brownsville Road, a vehicle, and the gas pumps at this gas station?
As you guys can observe, 2 vehicles came off of Brownsville Road towards Jonesboro.
As well as discussion in drawn,
not, that's what they said.
I'm sorry, 311 Georgia 378.
And you,
2024.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Now,
Your Honor, the record is not reflective of what is being shown to the jury. We are not asking the witness to talk about things that are being said. We are asking the witness to state for the record as with her own eyes, as she can see, and we're not asking her to describe anyone's.
The state is listening testimony from a lay witness.
I'm overruling the objection, okay? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You may answer the question. Detective Gates, can you please tell the jury what it is, for the record, that is occurring as it relates to the road you pointed out, the gas station parking lot, and the pumps in the gas station parking lot?
Yes, ma'am. So as you all can see, two vehicles traveling eastbound from Browns Mill Road into the Citgo parking lot right here at the intersection. This is Jonesboro Road. This is Browns Mill Road. See the two vehicles both pull into the parking lot here, and the other one will come here and eventually go on the opposite side.
Now, as it relates to the first vehicle that you pointed out, at the timestamp 21:35:46.743 on the screen right now, for the record, would you describe the location of each of those two vehicles you just mentioned?
They're both side by side with a gas pump in between them. Once again, it's the parking lot of the Citgo gas station.
Are the doors to either vehicle open?
You can see the passenger side, front and rear doors of the silver Pontiac ajar.
And is that the first vehicle that drove into the parking lot?
Yes.
Are the doors to the other vehicle open?
No.
I'm continuing to play. At 21:35:58, has the door to the second vehicle open at all?
No.
And what is going on with the doors?
You may, sir.
Thank you.
What is going on with the doors and the occupants of the first vehicle that pulled in?
You see occupants of the first vehicle, the silver vehicle here. The doors open and the front seat passenger approaches the driver's side door of the second vehicle. The back seat passenger side, an occupant exits that, and also the behind the driver passenger exits that as well.
Continuing to play. At 21:36:00835, would you tell for the record what the occupant of the silver Pontiac is doing or has done in relation to the other vehicle that pulled in?
You can see
Check.
Basis.
Lack of personal knowledge.
I'm gonna overrule the objection.
Your Honor, if I may supplement, also rule 701 in Bullard v. State.
Mr. Sharp, Mr. Sharp,
Yes, Your Honor.
that's improper. Please sit down. You can make an offer of proof at a later time, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Would you please tell the jury for the record what the occupant of the silver Pontiac has done in relation to the second car that pulled in?
the gentleman who exits the silver vehicle in the front passenger seat, he's now appears to be leaning over, talking to the driver or occupants of the second vehicle.
And has either door of the second vehicle opened yet?
No.
And has either occupant of the second vehicle exited the vehicle?
No.
Continuing to play. At 21:36:09.840, How many occupants have gotten out of the silver Pontiac that drove in first?
3.
Is there another occupant near the gas pumps? And if you can't tell, that's okay.
At this angle, I can't tell.
Has anyone gotten out of the blue vehicle that pulled up after the silver Pontiac?
No, no.
Do you recognize anyone that has just gotten out of that silver Pontiac that's walking forward in the video?
Here, yes.
Who?
Kelvin Treadwell, AKA OG Bentley.
And what area are they walking towards, the occupants of the silver vehicle?
The entrance to the food mart portion of the Citgo.
At 21:36:17, has anybody gotten out of the blue vehicle?
No.
What about 21:36:37? Anybody out of the blue vehicle yet?
No.
At 21:36:59, has anybody gotten out of the blue vehicle yet?
No.
At 21:37:08, is there any movement from the blue vehicle?
Yes.
What does it do for the record?
It passes by the front side of the silver Pontiac, and it eventually end up over here at the opposite gas pump.
May I have a continuing objection, Your Honor?
As to what, sir?
First, lack of personal knowledge.
I'm over, no. And not this time, sir.
At 21:37:14, what, for the record, is the blue vehicle doing?
It stopped in front of the silver Pontiac.
And what does it do initially, before pulling up to the set of gas pumps opposite the silver Pontiac?
It reversed a short distance and then pulled to the side of it near the, so the driver's side doors are next to each other.
At this point, have you seen anybody get out of the blue vehicle?
Not at this point.
At 21:38:02, what has the blue vehicle done since the last time that I asked you a question about it for the record?
Is now next to the adjacent gas pumps of the silver vehicle.
Is it directly situated next to, or is it behind and to the right of the Pontiac?
Actually leaving.
I stand the objection.
Would you please, for the record, clarify exactly where the blue vehicle is in relation to the Pontiac at 21:38:02.705?
Behind it and directly to the right of it.
Thank you. And are the brake lights on?
They are. Well, they were.
At 21:38:34 and 8:17, do you see anyone standing outside of the blue vehicle? Yes.
Doesn't appear, no.
At 213905 and 355, do you see anyone outside of the blue vehicle?
No.
Continue to play. At 213940, what, if anything, do passengers in the silver Pontiac do? You see any movement, for the record, of passengers from the silver Pontiac?
Would you like me to say who that person is? Or
Do you know?
yes,
How do you know?
I later spoke with her,
Who is that person?
Miss Tina Clark.
And what does Ms. Tina Clark do at 2139 and 48?
She exits the driver's side door and goes around to the actual pumps, gas pumps on the opposite side of the vehicle.
Do you see anyone outside the blue vehicle at 2139 48.339?
No.
At 214003, do you see anything as it relates to the blue vehicle?
Yes, you can see the brake lights come on.
Okay. Is anyone on the outside of the blue vehicle?
Not at this point.
Are the doors open or closed on the silver Pontiac?
This time stamp, it appears just the driver's side door is open.
At 2140 and 13, what happens as it relates to the blue vehicle and its occupants? Does anything happen for the record?
Yes, the brake lights come off and the driver of the blue vehicle exits.
Do you see or was there anything in his hands like a long gun?
No, it does not appear to be anything in his hands.
And are you able to tell the jury, based on your personal knowledge, who that person is that got out of the car?
That's Neil. His first name is Cornelius. I'm
Okay.
not certain his last name at this time.
And that's at 2140, 15, and 870. At 2140, 27, what do we see Neil do?
You can't see it from this angle, but there's vehicles parked here at the front entrance of the store.
You have an objection, what's the basis?
If it's not seen on video, then yes, I do.
What's the basis of your objection, sir?
With the Detective Gator not there, would be the honest story. This video.
Gunnar, we-
I- Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor. There are angles that have been looked
Well,
at.
then
that
ask
have
her,
shown.
I'll sustain the questions to form, re-ask her, ask her another question.
As it relates to the front area of the store,
Mhm.
what do you see Neil do as you were describing previously?
He just began to walk towards the front of the food mart.
Is he running?
No,
And as he walked towards the food mart, did you see evidence of anything in his hands?
no.
And now at 21, 40, and 43.308, would you tell the jury for the record what Neil was doing?
He appears to be walking back towards his blue vehicle.
Okay. And where is he at 21, 40, and 51?
The driver's side door. He enters the car
Of the blue vehicle?
of the blue vehicle, yes.
At 21, 41, 18.495, would you describe for the jury, for the record, what, if anything, happens as it relates to Neil, the blue car, and the silver Pontiac and its occupants?
You see Neil exit the driver's side door again. He's standing near the rear rear driver's side door. And the young lady that was at the gas pumps approaches him.
Is that Miss Tina Clark?
Yes.
All right. And are you able to tell where Neil's hands are as Ms. Clark approaches him?
Maybe in his pockets.
I'm continuing. At 21, 41, 24, where are Neil and Ms. Clark?
They're standing in between their two vehicles, and they shook hands.
Twenty-one, 41, 45. Where is everyone that is outside of the car?
Ms. Clark, she's standing at the driver's side door, and Mr. Cornelius is near the back seat door, driver's side.
And has anyone else gotten out of the blue vehicle so far that you can tell?
No,
Is any door of the blue vehicle open?
just appears the driver's side, the front door.
Okay.
Ms. Lowe,
Yes.
you got another 5 minutes before the end of the business day, okay?
Then I'll let this play out and not ask you. Okay. At 21, 42, 23, where is Neil in relation to the occupants of the silver Pontiac?
The same spot near the rear driver's side door.
At 21, 42, 49, where is Neil?
Appears to be the same spot.
Is he talking to the same young lady?
He is.
Are there other occupants of the silver Pontiac on the other side of the car?
Yes.
All right. Now, what, if anything, just before 21:43:21.
This here, white Dodge Nitro, which we learned was a suspect vehicle, entered the parking lot and stopped at that side of the post.
Did it drive in slowly?
It didn't appear to be slow, no.
What does Neil do when that nitro comes up?
He immediately walked back to his vehicle and entered the driver's seat.
And what happens to the occupants of the Dodge Nitro?
All three exit the vehicle armed with firearms.
At 21:43:28, have you seen Neil with any type of object that even resembles a firearm?
You can't even see Neil at this point. He's inside the vehicle.
At 21:43:32, what has Neil done?
He's got into his blue vehicle and closed the door.
And what about the occupants of the Nitro? What is happening at 21:43:32 and 8:23?
They're walking into the parking lot armed with firearms.
At 21:43:37, where is Neil?
Inside the driver's side seat with the door closed.
Has anyone from the Nitro done anything in relation to Neil's car at this point?
You can see this guy here, later identified as Walter Murphy, walking up towards the rear of their vehicle.
At 21:43:48, is there anything you can see in Walter Murphy's hands?
Yes, you can see a assault rifle.
And what have you just done as it relates to the blue vehicle?
He approached the driver's side door, maybe less than 5 feet away. I don't know what the conversation was, but he raised the firearm and then began to back away from it.
Is his face covered, Mr.
No.
Murphy's?
No,
All right. And what is he doing at 21:43:51?
he's attempting to conceal the rifle into his jacket
Okay. And where is he walking?
towards the front entrance of the food mart.
What is the blue vehicle doing?
Brake lights came on, so it appears that putting in gear to leave.
What's happening at 21:43:59 and 467?
Walter Murphy began to run towards the blue vehicle with the assault rifle drawn,
And what does the blue vehicle do?
pulls away.
What does Walter Murphy do?
Standing in the parking lot having a short conversation with this gentleman who was an occupant of a silver vehicle.
And do you know who that gentleman is?
I do not.
At 21:44:06, has the blue vehicle completely exited the parking lot?
Yes, he went south on Jonesboro Road.
Did the blue vehicle creep off, or did it speed off, or did it do something in the middle?
It appeared to leave at a high rate of speed.
Where is the silver Pontiac at this time? 21:44:12.
It's still parked at the gas pumps in his original place.
Did you see anyone other than Neil get out of the blue vehicle while it was in the parking lot?
No, ma'am.
And how many persons are on the outside of either the silver Pontiac or the white Nitro?
From this frame, I can see 3.
All right, Ms. Love, we're about done for the day.
Yes, Your Honor. I stopped for the record at 21:44:19:1650.
Yes, ma'am, so moved. All right, Detective Gaither, can you come back and visit with us again on Monday? If you could be here for 8:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Have a nice weekend. Don't discuss your testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, madam. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the business day, it being 5 o'clock on Friday. I think the sun is still, it's shining, it's out now. So we'll release you to at least enjoy a few hours of our Friday afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any ministerial inquiry of me? Anyone? Okay. Monday, I need you to be here by 8:30 for anticipated 9 o'clock start time. And we'll have a regular work day on Monday, okay? All right, let's go through our admonitions. As you leave to go home for the weekend, leave your notepads in the basket. Remember, you're not allowed to discuss the case as you're leaving in onesies and twosies or in a group waiting for whatever mode of transportation that you are utilizing. Please resist temptation of talking about this case when you go home. Do not watch any news accounts of this particular case. Don't go on any third-party sites and try and make sure, add to your understanding, because remember, you can only consider what's been presented to you in the four walls of this courtroom. Of course, do not let any third parties discuss this case within your presence and hearing, and reach out to you in regards to discussion or anything about your involvement. You need to, of course, contact Sergeant Ingram and myself immediately. Don't go by and visit any of the scenes that may be depicted as they've been testified to so far. And remember, you are not authorized to sit back there in any other location and recap or otherwise handicap the testimony that you've heard. You can only consider this case once it's been presented to you, and I've given you instructions on how you to consider that and begin your deliberative process. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for your extreme patience with us and the patience that you'll continue to give us as in the resolution of this matter. So unless you have any other questions for me,